Okay, so I think that I've sent most of you, if not all of you, the How to Make Your Own Grappling Dummy at Home video by Carlos Machado. Carlos Machado, if you ever get a chance to train with a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, that's the guy you want to try to get with if you can. Carlos is a super nice guy. I've known him for, 20 years, over 20 years. There was a time I used to train with him in Dallas. Once a month, I would go up on a Friday night, and I'd do his Friday night class. I'd spend the night in Dallas Friday night, and I'd do a Saturday day class. And I did that for about a year or so, maybe a little longer. Just an amazing guy. Anyway, so he put out a video on how to make your own grappling dummy at home. Now, I'm using one of our regular, we call them alligator dummies. So it's our regular Motion Master. But if you watch that video, you see how to make your own. You've got 4 towels. You roll them up. You stick it through the arms of the uniform top. Then you put a couple pillows inside. You tie your belt around it, and you have your own dummy. It's not perfect, but for training at home, it's great. If by chance you have somebody that you can work with at home, then that's even better. And a lot of our students have brothers, sisters, sons, daughters that they can train with at home. So I want to go through part of what we have to do for our student level 1 certification. And if you've got a dummy at home that you can move around on, that's going to be great. So our first position is our side control, or Yoko Shiogatami. Don't worry about the name. I'm just going to use English names for right now because it's easier. So I'm at side control. Side control, my chest is on my opponent's chest here. My elbows are on the other opposite side, or I can have an elbow on one side, a hand next to the hip, or I can have an elbow on this side and a hand next to the head. I'm not real worried about this arm just yet, although I've got dozens of techniques I can do against this arm that we'll get into later. For right now, I'm just in side control. Next thing I'm going to do is my leg that's next to my opponent's head will come up and give me a brace. All my weight is still on my opponent's chest. This hand is flopping around. This hand should be here at my chest trying to hold me away. What I'm going to do is, let me stretch this out just so you can kind of see it. I'm going to reach behind with my head that's next to the hand, scoop underneath that arm, and pick it up so his arm is under my armpit. My hand will go underneath his opposite arm, and my foot that's behind me, that's next to his leg, in this case it's going to be my right foot, will step out. So my foot is facing kind of parallel to my opponent's head. My opposite leg is going to go back behind me. So I've gone from my side control position, Yoko Shiogatami, to Keisagatami. Here, pick the arm up, bring it under my armpit, and step out. From here, I'll take his arm, and I'm going to push it across my opponent's chest. My front leg, my right leg at this point, is going to stay where it is. My left leg is going to just take a big step and come around his head. My knee is on this side of his head. My other knee will be on this side. I'm still keeping my weight on my opponent's chest. I'll let go of the arm. I'll switch hands and step. So I'm in a north and south position. My arms are either going to be underneath my opponent's armpits or underneath my opponent's armpits here with my hands. I prefer this position, but either work well. At this point, I'll take this arm and throw it across my opponent's chest. I'm going to do like a big spinning round or a spinning hook kick with my right leg and sit down. My left leg is now in the position my right leg was in earlier. I'll take this hand, bring the arm up underneath my armpit. Here. So my legs are spread out wide. Then my last position from the north or from the top position is changing my feet and going back to my side control position. From here, I'll reverse the whole thing. I'll do the exact same thing backward. Leg comes out, leg comes through. I'm no longer worried about his arms for right now. I should have all of my weight on my opponent's chest, so it's going to make it difficult for him to just reach up and grab me. And I'm not going to stay here for long. Next, I'm going to do a mount. So I'll step over. Earlier I stepped over the head. Now I'm just stepping over the body the exact same way. All my weight is still on my opponent's chest. And I'm now mounted. My opponent's punching at me because he has Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. He can't reach me. So I can punch back. From here, my elbow will go to the opposite side of his head. Again, I want all my weight on him. And I'll spin kick off like I did earlier. Normally at this point I'm controlling my opponent's legs, or I could be punching to the stomach, into the groin, trying to lock the legs up. At this point I will switch my legs back again, so I'm back in my original position. So I've made a star all the way around my opponent. I've kind of hit the 8 points of the compass. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I'm back in my original position again. So those are our basic positions for our star drill. Now, if you've made a grappling dummy, and all you need is your uniform, again, 4 towels and 2 pillows and your belt, it should be easy enough, hopefully, to do some techniques against the arms, because you have arms on yours now. I didn't bring any towels with me today, so my arms are going to flop around, but you're going to get the idea for it. And the ground portion of our classes is very important for us. So I don't want to skimp on this, even though we don't have a partner to work with at home. And if you do have a partner to work with at home, do that. If you've got a brother or a child, parent, sister, whatever, use that. Especially if they're in the class with us. If they're not, they should be. So from here, I'm going to go from a mounted position. Again, my opponent's arms are here. He could be punching at me or whatever. My first technique is I'm going to bring the arm up. My dummy is pretty big, so I don't have much of an arm. I'll bring my foot up under my opponent's armpit, under my dummy's armpit. Put one hand on his chest. The other hand will be at my chest. We call this a bow and arrow. So say I've got a bow and arrow, I'm pulling it back here, this way. I'm pushing on the chest. I'll step up. My rear leg, my bent leg that I'm on my knee with, will step over my opponent's head. This one stays under his armpit. I'll sit, and as I sit, the arm, although my arm is going to be a little too short for me, if maybe I leave some of the towel sticking out, it would be better. I'll hug the arm, and I'll lay backward for my straight arm bar. And even with this bag, you see that if I hug this, if I hold it, as I go back, my arms have a tendency to extend out, and I lose this. If I hug it, watch the bag itself. I think you can see this. It kind of cinches up in. See how the bag comes up? Now my opponent's hand that's sticking out of this is up near my chin. And that's what I'm looking for. My feet don't cross, they're parallel, my knees are tight, and I start to slowly push on the ground with my feet as I pick my hips up. And that gives me my submission. Okay, I could do that 10 or 15 times, but probably you can rewind this a little bit, 10 seconds, 15 seconds, whatever your computer will allow, and watch that over again. So I'm going to go into a different technique. Next, from my mount, my opponent's hands are up here. No, don't hit me, don't hit me. And I'm going to grab one arm. My thumbs will be together. I'll lock my arms out, and I'm just going to lean into this. Even if they're strong and they're fighting me, it doesn't really matter, because I'm just leaning in. Sooner or later, they're going to relax, and I'm going to the ground with that arm. I'll put my elbow next to the head. Still grabbing their wrist. As I grab their wrist here, my other hand is going to walk underneath their tricep, and I'm going to grab my own wrist on top. I'll put my head down next to my opponent. If I leave it up, he's going to be punching me with that other hand, so I'm going to put my head down close, and I'm going to drag my opponent's hand backward as I lift my elbow to where my knee is. So I'm going to touch his hand to my kneecap as I lift his elbow up. When his hand gets about even with his shoulder, that's when he's going to tap for a submission. Since he doesn't have an arm, I can rip that down to actually practice a realistic self-defense situation. But down and up. I do the other side. Grab, down, reach under, and get my submission. Grab in, down, under the tricep, grab my wrist, head in, and get my submission. With this one, with the straight arm bars, I would do probably at least 10 of those on each side. Realistically, I would probably do maybe 25 of those on each side. And with the bent arm bars, the V-locks, and we call them a V-lock because I kind of make a V with my opponent's arm as I'm doing this. With my V-locks, same thing, I'd probably do like maybe 25 on each side. At least 10 if you're doing everything together, just to kind of keep it in memory, but do as many as you can, obviously. So I have my straight arm bar and I have my V-lock. If for whatever reason my opponent's pushing me around and trying to get me off of him, which is going to happen, I'm going to go to a side control position. So earlier we dismounted and went to side control. So from here, following that same motion, here, and I go back chest to chest, I'm here. I'm going to grab the arm and I'm going to pull it straight out as far as I can get it. Now, as I do that, it forces my opponent to have a straight arm. If I'm just kind of grabbing it, doing stuff up here, they're going to be flopping their arm back and forth, which I'm kind of ready for. But if I stretch it out, it makes it more difficult for them to do. But for now, I'm going to grab, reach under, grab my wrist for my V-lock, and pull that arm backward. And I get my submission. Next, they try to get loose and they push their arm out straight. As they do that, I'm going to keep my same position here, but I'm going to go out long. I'll grab my forearm, and my wrist and my forearm go immediately underneath their elbow. And I will start to raise my wrist up as I'm pushing my chest down on their shoulder, and that should give me my straight arm bar submission. If they get loose of this and they want to turn it back again, I just go right back into this V-lock. Oh, they go along, here's my straight arm bar, they bend it, and I go to my V-lock. So they're going to be trying to get out of that by moving their arm around. If they move their arm upside down, I have to change hands. So I take this one out, I grab, I reach underneath, I do exactly the same thing I did with my V-lock, but now it's a Kimura or a chicken wing. So I'll bring this in and I'll start lifting this up. Now a lot of people will start to lift their shoulder up also, which makes it more difficult for me, because some people will end up actually, as you get this, sitting up to try to get loose, and that's a pretty common thing. So what I'm going to do is I'll take my shin and I'll kneel on top of my opponent's face. That stops him from sitting up. Sometimes we'll step across so they can't sit up past my thigh. And this position allows me to also punch behind my leg as I'm trying this. But for now, we're just going to shin on their face. Grab and lift that up. And so that's my V-lock, my straight arm bar, and my chicken wing. Okay, so those are 5 techniques you can work on your ground bag that you can make at home. Very easy to do. We'll cover some more of these in our next class. Okay.